Hey, imagine you're standing in a cramped workshop, a bunch of heavy boxes stacked on a pallet, and you've got to decide whether to trust your gut or actually weigh that load before you lift it. I've been in that exact spot a few times trying to figure out if a piece of equipment is really worth the space on the floor and the money out of the pocket. It's a weird mix of fear and curiosity, especially when the scale you're looking at promises 2,500 pounds of capacity and a half-pound resolution. You want confidence that the numbers are right, but you also don't want to end up with a steel box that just sits there, never used. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So, let's break down this SellEton new industrial 48-inch by 48-inch floor scale. First off, the size. A 4-foot square platform is actually a sweet spot for a lot of small to medium warehouses, woodworking shops, and even a serious home garage. It's big enough to accommodate standard pallets without you having to jiggle the load, but it isn't so massive that you have to carve out an entire room just to fit it. If your operation moves boxes that are about a foot wide or you do a lot of bulk ingredient weighing in a kitchen, that footprint feels pretty reasonable. On the other hand, if you're running a large distribution center where pallets are 2x4 meters, you'll find this scale feels cramped and you'll probably be forced to split loads, which defeats the purpose of a floor scale in the first place. Capacity is another big talking point. 2,500 pounds is more than enough for most single pallet jobs. Think of a fully loaded pallet of 55-gallon drums, a stack of drywall sheets, or a bag of cement mix. They easily sit under that limit. The half-pound readability is where the scale really tries to win you over. In a hobby setting, for example, someone making artisanal soaps might need that degree of precision to stay consistent batch to batch. In commercial environments, the half-pound granularity is often overkill, but it does give you a safety net if you've got a very light item that you still need to log for inventory control. What really matters, though, is how the scale behaves day to day. The platform is a plain steel sheet with a protective finish that resists rust in a workshop where spills happen regularly. The scale sits on a set of rubber feet that dampen vibrations from nearby machinery, which is a practical feature if you have forklifts or other heavy equipment moving around. I've seen people set it up right next to a conveyor belt, and the scale's readings stay steady enough that you can trust the numbers after a quick press of the tare button. That same feature also means you can place a small crate or a pallet of parts on the platform and zero out the weight of the container, effectively turning the scale into a mini shipping station. But there are also hidden trade-offs. The indicator, essentially a digital display, sits on a small mount, and while it's clear enough for direct linear sight, you have to lean in a bit to read it if you're standing a few feet away. In a bright industrial lighting setup, glare can make the numbers a touch harder to read, which might make you waste a second or two confirming the weight. For most users, that's a minor inconvenience, but if you're the sort of person who prefers to glance at a screen from across the room, you may find it a nuisance compared to larger, more prominent displays. Another practical concern is the scale's power source. It runs off a standard AC plug, which means you're tied to a wall outlet. That's generally fine for a permanent spot, but if your workflow moves around the floor, say, you need to weigh items at a loading dock and then later at a workbench, you'll either need a longer cord or a separate power strip. Some competitors ship with battery-powered options that give you more flexibility, so if mobility is a priority, you might want to keep the power requirement on your shortlist. Now, who should walk away with this scale? If you're a small-scale manufacturer, a home-based craftsman, or a shop that handles bulk items in standard pallet sizes, the SellEton offers a solid balance of capacity and precision without demanding a massive floor space. A half-pound resolution can actually help you tighten up cost calculations on raw materials. For a hobbyist who needs occasional weigh-ins for a project, the price point is likely lower than the larger, industrial-grade scales, and the footprint fits neatly into a garage or shed. The scale's durability, thanks to its steel platform and rust-resistant coating, also means you won't have to worry about corrosion after a few months of exposure to grease or moisture. Conversely, you'll want to skip this model if you run a high-throughput warehouse where you need to weigh multiple pallets quickly, or if you're looking for a scale that integrates directly into a warehouse management system. The lack of